Here to tell us more is Oliver Farry from our foreign desk. Hello to you, Oliver.
Hello.
This crisis can be laid at the door of climate change, but the state of Libya over the past decade has also had an influence.
Yeah, Libya is, to be frank, not a fully functional state following the successive conflicts of the past decade, which followed, in turn, the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Now, this has had serious implications for infrastructure, such as the two dams in the Derna Wadi that collapsed on Sunday night, leading to what has been referred to as a tsunami that engulfed the city of Derna. Now, the dams were undergoing maintenance work by a Turkish contractor from 2007, but that company left Libya after the outbreak of the civil war in 2011. Getting foreign companies to return to Libya over the past decade has been near impossible, both because of the actual physical insecurity of the country and also the governmental insecurity. The chances of not getting paid by a government were fairly high. The fact that Libya is being run by two separate governments, one in Tripoli, the other in Tobruk, led by General Khalifa Haftar, has complicated things further, not to mention the fact that there have been other actors such as the Islamic State that have periodically ruled parts of Libya. And there seems to have been little introspection on the part of the Libyan ruling class. The head of the parliament, Aguila Salas, yesterday described the catastrophe as, quote, fate and a natural catastrophe from which there was no mistake. This is actually reminiscent of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's comments after the earthquake in Turkey earlier this year. At the time, it was pointed out that actually a non-compliance with building codes by generally people, builders who actually were his supporters and allies was actually largely responsible. Now, not surprisingly, this has drawn a lot of outrage within Libya, particularly as the dangers posed by the lack of upkeep on the dams was common knowledge among people in Derna, and it was very much discussed. There was a public meeting about it as recently as the 6th of September. There were even the subject of a poem called Rain, written just days before the flood by the local poet Mustafa al-Trabelsi, who himself died in the disaster. And not only has the political situation prevented the required upkeep of the dam, it's often actively facilitated its neglect. There are allegations hanging over the current mayor of Derna, who's accused of embezzling reconstruction funds that were allocated in 2021. And this has naturally fed into a lot of cynicism among the Libyan people about the official will to tackle both these long-standing problems and the disaster itself.
How are these existing conditions complicating the response?
Well, the scale of the disaster is daunting. According to the Red Crescent, the death toll stands at over 11,000. A further 10,000 people are unaccounted for. And this is potentially a massive portion of Derna's population of 90,000. With clean drinking water now unavailable to most people in the city, a humanitarian catastrophe awaits. And as ever with natural disasters like this, the days and weeks following can be even worse than the disaster itself. There's a strong sense that the response in Libya is not happening fast enough. The United Nations is coordinating the relief response, but even they say the extent of the problem is unclear. This is the scale of the actual problem that Libya is facing. The same old problems are also rearing their heads in the aftermath. The Libyan parliament has earmarked 1.9 billion euros to an emergency committee set up recently, actually before the flood. This is earmarked specifically for a response. However, there's widespread belief within Libya that much of this will not be used for its intended purposes, because the emergency committee is stuffed with cronies of General Khalifa Haftar, including his son Saddam. Now, the past track record of the Eastern-based government does not bode well for the management of these funds.
All right, Oliver, thank you very much. Oliver Farry from our foreign desk.